Hey everyone, welcome to the Final Cut. So glad you could join us today. We got on the chopping block a surreal indie horror film called A Necropath. Now, this was directed by Joshua Riel, who also wrote this story about, well, it's kind of a mixture of different storylines. The main person we follow, though, is Skag, who is this purse thief druggie who is not above hurting people to reach his ultimate goal, which is to get more money to buy more drugs. Well, we kind of follow Skag as well as a couple of other individuals in a city where there's a zombie outbreak, and we see through these little groupings of stories the events that unfold and pretty much follow this zombie outbreak from the perspective of Skag. Yes, folks, that's right. It's a zombie film that is told for the most part from the perspective of a very nasty, grimy individual that you're not supposed to like. But it is a bit different, a monster among monsters. And yeah, I thought it was an interesting approach to this. Now, Mo Isaac plays Skag, and I enjoyed his performance in here. He stayed in character the whole time. This is a grimy character who you aren't supposed to like at all, yet you're with him for quite a bit of the film. And it is interesting exploration to see how Skag really is not affected by the zombies because he's focused on his one really real big goal here, regardless of who he comes across. So I thought it was an interesting exploration into that type of character and how that character might handle living as there's more and more people being turned into zombies. Now, we do get a family that Skag runs across in his journey through the zombie-riddled town, and watching that family, it is a very heartbreaking, moment here, and I thought it was a really interesting exploration as well with that family dynamic, finding out that they aren't exactly the happy family, but they are still a family, and you don't necessarily want anything bad to happen to them, but of course, things do happen. We get the lost girl who's a member of this family, who's played by Lillian Colvin, and I loved her performance as well. A chunk of this story is told about this cat and mouse game that ends up getting played between her and Skag once her family and them meet up with this individual. And yeah, I liked the cat and mouse. I liked her performance in here quite a bit. The setting that they put all of this story in is also really dirty and run down and just almost a representation of a broken society already before the zombie outbreak, including some of the folks who are homeless, who appear to be deformed or have injuries or defects in their appearance. Apparent, that makes it hard for you to tell if they're a zombie or if they just had some unfortunate things happen to them. And so, yeah, I liked that questioning as well and that kind of enigma around these characters. So it's a really surreal film. There's not a lot of language, dialogue in this film. It's a lot of action, a lot of emotion and emoting through expressions and such to get this story across. We also have a story in here where there's a cop, a mom, and her child, and they're trying to survive a zombie outbreak where zombies have run into the building, and eventually Skag shows up as well. And so, yeah, it's almost like these an anthology film of sorts, kind of a pseudo-anthology film, all involving Skag as the wraparound character. Now, I enjoyed the look, I enjoyed the stories, I enjoyed the griminess of it. There's practical gore effects in here which look really, really good, so they took care with those as well. The editing is interesting, as in there isn't like a full linear story necessarily for parts of it. That's why I mentioned it's surreal, but kind of almost a dreamlike or nightmare-like state in this case. But yeah, it's definitely coherent enough to follow for sure. The only thing I didn't care for was the ending, and not that it was necessarily a bad ending by any means, but it is a modern horror ending, so it has a very nihilistic twist to it at the end, which was I was like, kind of put me off just a little bit to it, but it felt natural for the story. It's just for my own personal taste. I'm getting it is getting to be very evident that that is the norm, and I wish we would at least have a little bit of a uplifting ending. Not for every horror film, but this one it would have been nice. And although this is a interesting, different take on a zombie outbreak film, if you're looking for something like that, don't mind an indie film made on a little bit lower budget, but done artistically and taking some very creative approaches to things we've seen before in these types of films, then you'll want to check out Necropath. I believe it's out on VOD now. You can check it out, and if you have seen it, please leave your comments down below. Love to hear your thoughts on this interesting horror film. And yeah, check out our Patreon if you haven't already. We got a lot of great stuff there. I thank you for your support as always, and remember, keep that ticket stub.